This is video 1 for chapter 7. From this chapter onwards, for the next couple of chapters, we are going to look at the economy in the medium run. So remember that in the previous few chapters, when you looked at the consumption function and the demand side and developed the ISLM model, we were looking at the economy in the short run. So now we are moving on to the medium run, and the first part of the medium run, before we do the complete medium run analysis, we need the first part, which is the labor market. So labor market, the main factor is the wage, which gets determined in the labor market and in the medium run. So let's discuss, what factors are important for wage determination. So reservation wage, right? You may have heard of this before. Reservation wage is the minimum wage that must be paid to a worker so that the worker has some motivation to work. So it is basically the wage rate for which the worker is kind of indifferent between working and non-working. Okay. Now, typically we see that wage, W will represent nominal wage. So wage is typically the wage that is actually paid to the workers is typically higher than the reservation wage. So if this is WR, then wage rates are typically higher than reservation wage. And what is the reason for that? Right? Why do workers usually get more than the reservation wage? There are various reasons for that. In the presence of strong labor unions, for instance, there is something called collective bargaining, where the unions they bargain for higher wage rates for the workers. Also, if suppose there is no labor union, the individual worker also has some bargaining power. So, for instance, if you are in the job market and you have more than one job offers, then you can exercise some bargaining power to drive up your wage. Okay. Um, the last factor that we will discuss is known as the efficiency wage theory, right? Which states that if firms pay higher than the reservation wage, then they may experience an increase in productivity. So higher wage leads to higher productivity. Productivity is how much output is produced per worker. Okay, and less workers leaving jobs, quitting. Okay, so this was exercised by Henry Ford, and worker turnout rates were brought down significantly. Although we don't have too much evidence in favor of whether efficiency wages increase productivity, but we do have evidences which show that efficiency wages decrease worker turnout. So now we know that what factors impact the wage and why reservation wage is typically higher than why the actual wage paid is typically higher than the reservation wage. So for these factors, so now for our analysis, we are going to find ways to incorporate these factors in our wage setting theory. Summarizing the above factors, then we can say that there are three main determinants of wages. Okay, so first one is labor market conditions, right? So which is captured in the unemployment rate. Okay, so if you think about if unemployment rate is low, then workers have a better bargaining power. Then you can have better collective bargaining and better individual bargaining, and so wages will be higher. Okay, so low unemployment rate means higher nominal wages. Similarly, high unemployment rates would lower your bargaining power, and so nominal wages will be low in case of high unemployment rate. Then there are institutional factors, for example, minimum wage laws. Okay, if minimum wage laws, state that minimum wages increase, then overall wages in the economy will increase. Similarly, unemployment benefits. Okay, if unemployment benefits are increased, then it would take firms to pay higher wages. It would require firms to pay higher wages in order to motivate a worker from becoming employed rather than being unemployed. Therefore, higher minimum wages, higher unemployment benefits would increase the nominal wage overall in the economy. And these institutional factors are represented in our model by the variable z. Okay, so remember that increase in u would lower the wage and decrease in u would increase the wage. But for z, increase in z would increase wage and decrease in z would decrease wage. Okay. The third factor is expected price level. So where does this come into play? Now, remember that for farms and workers, what really matters is the purchasing power of their wage, which is W by P. P is the price level, overall price level in the economy, or W by P is the purchasing power of their wages or their real wage. Okay, that is, if you receive $1,000 in salary, okay, then how much can you buy with the $1,000 depends on the price level. So what you're really worried about is the real wage rather than the nominal wage. Similarly, the farms, in terms of their real costs, they are worried more about the real wage. Okay. And so, when determining the nominal wage, they have to take into consideration the price level. Okay. Now, typically, nominal wages are set in as contracts, right, for the next 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Okay, which means that the farms or the workers, while they are setting the wage, they do not have, or even the workers when they're bargaining for a wage, they do not have the exact idea about what the price level is going to be in the next 3 years. What they rather have an idea about is their expected price level. Okay, so if PE is higher, if they expect price level to go up, then they would also bargain for higher wages. Okay, so combining these three, then we can write that the nominal wage is determined by expected price level. Okay, and it is a function of, and labor market is captured in this function where u is the unemployment rate and z is institutional factors. So as you can see from this equation, if PE increases, W increases, other things remaining unchanged. If unemployment rate increases, W decreases. So we have a negative relation. And for Z, if Z increases, W increases, as explained earlier. So Z captures institutional factors, and this relation is known as the wage setting relation. In the next video, we will look at the price setting relation, and then we are going to combine both to find out the equilibrium wage rate and unemployment rate in the economy in the medium run.